Sri Lankans are a resilient people, and there is no doubt at all that we will rebuild better than ever. Good evening and welcome to Face to Face. My guest tonight is Mr. Kesarralal Gunasekara, former Member of Parliament, and he is here with me to discuss the ongoing situation of the cyclone, the aftermath of the cyclone, and of course the near future where we need to rebuild and come back better than ever as a nation. Good evening and welcome back, Kesarralal.
Good evening, Niresh. Good evening.
Right, Kesarralal, this was, in my lifetime, the worst cyclone that Sri Lanka has faced. Not in terms of wind speed, but in terms of the rainfall and the fact that it affected the entire country. And it affected us for, well, my goodness, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, nearly 3 days, and it was a huge amount of rain. Usually a cyclone will cross from one side of the country to the other in perhaps a day or even less. But this was very slow moving, stayed over us for a very long time, and hence the utter devastation.
Correct. I think, as you said, it could be unprecedented also. Somebody will have to come up with those statistics, but I feel it could be unprecedented because we have never heard of anything. Of course, everybody talks about the 1947 floods, but it could be far more greater than the 1947 as well. Only thing is it hit the whole country, and within a matter of 24 hours, that rainfall, maybe 15 or 20% of the annual rainfall, if you get within
perhaps
one
even
day,
more.
If you get within 1 day, you are in serious trouble. Any country is in serious trouble. That's what happened. That is what happened to the United States as well sometime back with regard to Katrina. So the damage is severe. Of course, at the same time, I must say this in fairness also, that the meteorological department came out with this statistics. They said they sent out the warnings very much earlier, but maybe our people did not take those things that seriously. Maybe you have to understand that some of these people moving out is a big decision for them because their earthly belongings are there, and as such they do not respond in that positive manner. Very unfortunate. So many lives could have been saved if they had moved out.
Now let's discuss that aspect, Kesarralal. Now, in many countries, when there is an impending disaster, the government or the local authority, the city council, whatever authority, sends out an order. They don't request you. They order you to move out, to move to shelters, to move to higher ground, and so on. And unless there is some reason where you absolutely cannot move, you have to move. But in Sri Lanka, we don't have that. We urge our people to move, and many of them don't move at all. And we here at Newsfirst have this frustrating experience because we send out the alerts ourselves through our massive media network, and we ask people to move on behalf of the DMC or irrigation department or whoever is telling us. And then a couple of hours later, we get the same call saying, not enough people have moved. Can you repeat the message? And sometimes in a day, we're repeating 3 or 4 times to the same locality saying, people need to evacuate now. But still there are hundreds or even thousands in that neighborhood who won't move out. What do we need to do about this, Kesarralal?
I think the question here is that although the meteorological department sent out warnings, I don't think the other connected agencies took it up as well. Even the local, I do not know about the local authorities in those areas as to whether they also took it up and then sent out the messages to the people. But normally what happens is there is a problem. Of course, even in the states, the sometimes deployment of the forces is essential in the states. Even with people of that nature, even with the government sending out warnings, still people don't move out, and you deploy the forces to get them out. So I don't know, I feel that in Sri Lanka also, we have to move towards that. We have to ensure that in order to protect the lives of the people, that we have to create places where they can be housed for maybe 1 or 2 days or 3 days, depending on the situation. That did not happen. The message, the strong messages from the meteorological department was not taken so seriously by the people, I feel. Very sad.
Now, Kesarralal, it's not just about the lives of the people in those particular areas. It's about the lives of the rescuers, the first responders. We are talking the police, the army, the navy, the air force, the STF, civilian rescue personnel, and in this disaster we have seen too many of those rescuers lose their lives. We had a very distinguished pilot losing his life.
And that too because he could not land the helicopter on the bridge because people were there. Therefore, there was no other alternative. Very sad.
And then I think we had 5 Navy personnel who lost their lives up in the Jaffna Peninsula. So all of this is so sad, and it's completely unfair on the first responders, isn't it? So people need to think of all that.
Absolutely unfair. And
we as a nation need to think about that system.
I feel the question is this. We have to understand that once alerts are sent out, the local police stations and the local authorities must get together and take people out. House living temples or whatever places which have been pre-designated places. And you have to provide them meals, that's all. Because if they had done that, 3-4 days, if the protection was provided, 90% of these lives would have been saved. 90% of those lives. Because some of them were fundamentally, they were advised landslide would take place and to move out. But those people did not. And some village settlements completely got covered up as a result of landslides, and so many lives were lost. All those could have been saved. I feel the question here is we need to understand that when messages or alerts are sent out by the meteorological department, the police and the local authorities and maybe the divisional secretaries have to move into action and get the people out. That's the only way. I mean, some of those houses I felt, as to why they stayed behind, I don't know. Why? Some of them had gone, but some were behind, maybe to protect the belongings, etc. That is also another issue. It's on a human angle you have to look at it. But
well, there's no use wrapping your arms around your belongings if you're going to be,
somebody has to tell them that.
Exactly.
Your life is much more important than anything else.
Yes, but it's not that they don't know it. They're just hoping that nothing will happen. But Kesarralal, in many instances, these cutting failures, as we call them, where one builds a house on a piece of land where you know that one day the mountain is going to fall down on top of you. Those cutting failures, I think, can be prevented.
It has to be prevented.
But perhaps, of course, the larger landslides where an entire mountain suddenly collapses, perhaps that's more difficult to predict. But in most areas, I think the NBRO, the National Building Research Organization, has actually mapped out our upcountry very well. So we know which zones are more likely to fail.
Landslides, yeah. I think the question is this: enforcement is missing. The laws are there, the NBRO does their studies, etc. but the enforcement is the problem. Enforcement in all sectors is a failure in this country. That is mostly because of political involvement. You know, you got to understand that now some of these places, even the marshlands which have been filled up, which is all wrong, which is illegal. I mean, you're creating a mess out of the whole system. But that has happened. How do you have to rectify these things? And I think this is the ideal time for the present government to rectify all those things within a short period. Rectify. If there are constructions that have taken place violating the building regulations, immediate removal. Go to court or get a injunction or whatever it is and remove, demolition order and remove. That's the only way. Because people also have to understand that if they don't do the correct thing, they can be, and especially building houses on slope land without reinforcement. Reinforcement is essential. Even the government has to step in and do reinforcement in certain areas, which we have failed. So those are things that the government will have to look into. But I think by and large, it's a political intervention that have messed up this whole operation. I don't blame the officials completely. It's not correct for me to blame the officials because the politicians also have played a major role in that exercise.
But Kesarralal, now when you say politicians, we are talking about decades of political interference.
Yeah.
Where officials felt powerless, felt that their jobs were at risk if they went up against politicians. But we are trying to change the culture in our nation. And it's about time that officials stood up and basically said no to the politicians, isn't it? And I'm talking about things like you spoke of filled land, and the land which gets filled is either paddy land or marshland, and it's illegal to fill those areas.
Those are water retention areas.
Exactly, and then these individuals or companies, they sell this land for people to build homes, and people for some reason, out of ignorance perhaps, they go and actually purchase this and build houses, knowing very well that right next to them is the marsh, and it's more than likely that they are going to face a flood situation. But isn't it the responsibility of the local authority to to ensure that this doesn't happen? Because after all, once the land is sold with a document, a plan that is endorsed by the local authority.
Correct. You're perfectly correct. It's a role of the local authorities to ensure that proper regulations are followed by all developers. But unfortunately, in this country, so many instances I have found that political bickering has changed all that form. That entire format has changed as a result.
But
so the UD and the local authorities need to step up. That's very important. I mean, and if the local authorities have done something wrong, take them to court and punish them. I think that is another way of ensuring that things are on the correct path.
I mean, Kesarralal, right now there are some who would like to say, well, it's the government's fault. But which part of government? And I look at it as, well, are we expecting President AKD to go and check out every piece of land in this country?
Yeah.
No, that's not his role. His role is to ensure that the local authorities can function. And are they trying to do their jobs? That's the whole issue. And are they still issuing these certificates or certifying these lands and these buildings and saying they're okay, it's perfectly fine, and then all of a sudden at the next monsoon, and I'm not even talking about a cyclone here, I'm talking about just our usual monsoon, we have tens of thousands of houses which go under.
Yeah, Yeah, within next to no time sometimes. No, the question is this: the government has stipulated, very firmly said that the retention areas must be protected, but all retention areas fall under some local authority. So if the local authority is not strong enough, retention areas will be taken over by very illegal people, squatters, etc. This is so sad, and no action is taken. So I feel that we have to start somewhere, at least this time, where this is very serious, and ensure that over a period of 3-4 years, we clear up everything. That's the only way. You have to understand that, because if water retention, waterways are not protected, we are in serious trouble. I saw most of these people coming out and saying, blaming the government. It's usually blaming anybody, any government. All governments are responsible, including this government. But the question here is, the local authorities together with the UDA has to play a better role, much more coherent role in relation to ensuring that proper regulations are followed by construction, by people who are involved in construction.
Now, you mentioned that the Met Department had issued warnings several days earlier. Now, that brings me to this point, Kesarralal. Why do we wait for the politician to tell us what to do when we know something is going to happen, or it's likely to happen? It seems to me that the disaster management professionals should be the ones who are taking the decisions, rather than waiting for the president or the minister or somebody like that to take the decisions. Because let's look at it objectively. There are people who are trained in the different aspects of disaster prevention and disaster management. The president no president, as far as I know, has been trained in that.
No.
The president is there to give us leadership, and the minister and so on. It is the professionals who need to look at the data and figure out what is most likely to happen. There's no certainty, of course, but what's most likely, and then logically what the courses of action should be.
I feel what happened was, although the meteorological department people came on television, etc., and came out with this debacle that's going to take place, I don't think they were that strong, and I don't think anybody else picked up. Actually, you need discussion taking place. You need everybody talking about it. You need local authorities talking about it. You need all other agencies talking about it. That did not happen. If that happened, so many people would have been made aware, and maybe would have prevented at least half those deaths, that is, even through that, which is very sad. If everybody had taken it seriously, and the government also stepped in a big way, I feel we could have avoided so many deaths. Even Parliament, I think, did not to that degree extended their alerts, I feel. This is sad.
Parliament itself is built on a filled land, isn't it?
Correct.
That's a prime example of ignoring the basic laws of the land and regulations.
That's why Parliament went underwater once.
Exactly. And of course, I'm not saying we should move Parliament.
No.
It's not,
sadly not.
That will be far too costly.
Yeah.
But we can't sort of say that, okay, this is okay. It's not. Now when it comes to these warnings being ignored or not taken seriously, what needs to be done? Why is it that we don't take it seriously? Why is it that we don't take the weather seriously? Why is that?
That's our nature. That's our Sri Lankan nature. Don't take anything seriously. If a alarm or alert is sent out, surely you take it seriously. Everybody needs to take it seriously, but they don't. I mean, look at the number of vehicles that got entangled with this whole operation, lost so many lives are lost. Vehicles alone. What the hell were they doing? I can't understand. I can't understand. This is the mentality of Sri Lankans. They are so sad. So many deaths, no? The whole vehicle gets washed away. Surely that cannot happen. Surely that cannot happen. It's tragic.
Now, Kesarralal, so far we have about 350 people who have died and about another 350 who are missing. And this number might go up even further.
Yeah.
So this is not a small number.
No.
It's huge. I don't think we have lost this many people to a flood.
Never.
Apart from the tsunami itself. I can't remember any instance where 700 to 1,000 people have been lost. So this is our wake-up call, isn't it? That our systems need to be re-looked at, and we need to ensure that global best practices are set in place.
Correct. The question is this, as to whether we have to prevail upon the people that whenever alerts are coming out from the organizations, you need to adhere to them. You have to act accordingly and give them 2-3 days. If they don't, then in that case you have to deploy forces. Just like in the States, deploy the forces. That's the only way. We could have saved so many lives, I feel. Most of these people's lives would have been saved because they were told, look here, you are in bad areas, you have to get out. They could have easily have walked out. But then they did not. They stayed behind. So I feel the discussion per se was not enough. Although I think the meteorological department came at least 8 or 9 days before. If I remember correct.
That's a very long time.
It was 8 or 9 days before. But still, we could not take things seriously.
Right.
Yeah, it's very sad.
And prevention is, after all, better than cure. And we're going to discuss that point in a lot further when we come back, and we're just going to take a short commercial break. I am in conversation with Mr. Kesarralal Gunasekara. Don't go away, we'll be right back.
දෙදහස් විසිපහ ජුනි මස 29 වනදා වැඩ ආරම්භ කළ තාපු එම්බකී පුස්තකාලය දෙදහස් විසිපහේ නොවැම්බර් මස 20 වනදා දරුවන්ගේ අයිතියට පත් කළ වගයි.
කම්මැද්ද අලුත් බලාපොරොත්තුවක්.
දැන් කියන්නේ හරියට නිකන් කෙල්ල එල්ලුණා නෙමෙයි අපි ගිහලා කෙල්ල වෙල්ලුවා වගේ කතාවක්.
උඹ මොකක් වුණත් මං එන වික්මන්ටම බෝ හොයාගෙන.
උඹේ හැම චලනයක්ම දන්න මට නෙමෙයි උඹ බොරු කරන්න හදන්නේ මයි පුතේ.
නෑ සර් මම කියන්නේ දැන් අපේ පවුලේ නම්බුව ගැන හිතුවාම නෑ අයිසේ ඌඩට දාන්න තනිය එළියට. ඔයාගම මල්ලිකනේ. මාර පිස්සෙක්නේ.
මාගේ දැස දෙස බලනු.
මේ වගේ වයසට මෙහෙම ඉන්නවා කියන්නේ මරු.
මෙහෙම ඔයාට තුරුල් වෙලා ඉද්දියය මට මේ ලෝකෙ මොන ප්‍රශ්න ආවත් මට කිසිම බයක් නෑ.
මේ වෙච්ච කිසි දෙයක් සාහිලට ආරංචි වෙන්න දෙන්න.
ආලේ අද රාත්‍රී 8ට
සිරස ටෙලිතිරයෙන්
විලාසිට ඒ ගෑනිත් එක්ක කතා කරන්න ඕන කිව්වා.
කොහොමද නිරෝ තවත් ෆෝන් එකක් ගන්නෙ?
ඒක ගත් විදිහට අරන් දෙන්න. ඔළුව හොඳ නැද්ද වගේ? බෙද මිනිහා ඩිවෝස් කරන මම මොකෙක් කියලා හිතුවද?
ඔච්චර ඔළුව ගැකුමක් තියන්නේ මොකටද බල ලව් කරන්නේ? අතයන්න දාපන්කෝ.
උඹ ආස මං වෙඩි කාලා මැරෙනවටද? ඒව නැත්තම් ගලක් බැඳලා වැවේ ගිල්ලලා මරනවටද?
උට තිබුණේ සල්ලි අමාරුවක් නෙමෙයි වෙන අමාරුවක්. මං අහන්නේ ඒක නෙවෙයි අනේ. මේගොල්ලෝ දිගටම ඉන්න හදයිද? තව ටික දවසකින් ගෙදර තීරණත් ඒගොල්ලන්ගෙන් අහලා ගන්නකොට ඔයාට තේරෙයි මම මොකද්ද කියන්නේ කියලා.
කොටෝ අද රාත්‍රී 9:30ට සිරස ටෙලිතිරයෙන්
ඝාතනය සැලසුම් කරපු අයගේ ඉඳලා ඝාතකයා හෝ ඝාතකයෝ දක්වා හැම කෙනෙක්ම අපරාධකාරයෙක්ම අපිට නීතිය ඉදිරියට ගෙන්න අවශ්‍යයි.
සර්ලා අදිසින් ආවේ මොකක් හරි ප්‍රශ්නයක්ද සර්?
අපේ රාජකාරිය ඇතුළේ තියෙන ප්‍රශ්න නැති වෙලාවල් කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ?
මල් කැකුලක් තලා දාන්න තරම් දරුණු හිතක් මේ මිනිස්සුන්ට කොහොම ආවද මන් දන්නේ.
ඒ වගේ සහගහන අපරාධයක් කරා මදිවට ඒක වසන් කරන්නත් සූක්ෂමව කටයුතු කරන්නේ ආමුදුරුනේ.
Lovers Sleep හෙට රාත්‍රී 7:30ට
සිරස ටෙලිතිරයෙන්.
අපේම මිනිසුන් වෙනුවෙන් අපේ මනුෂ්‍යත්වයේ දෑත් දිකු කරමු. සිරස ශක්ති සහන යාත්‍රා.
සහල්
පරිප්පු
සොයමිට්
ටින්මාලු
නූඩල්ස්
බිස්කට්
ඔබට හැකි පමණ ගෙනවිත් බාර දෙන්න.
භාණ්ඩ එකතු කිරීමේ මධ්‍යස්ථාන
කොළඹ 2 සිරස මාධ්‍යශාලයේ මූලස්ථානය.
දෙපානම විකාශන මධ්‍යස්ථානය
රත්මලාන ස්ටයින් මැදිරි සංකීර්ණය.
මහනුවර කැන්ඩි සිටි සෙන්ටර් පරිශ්‍රය. සිරස ශක්ති සහන යාත්‍රා.
එන්න විපතට පත් ජීවිත වෙත සහනයක් වන්නට.
අපත් සමග එකතු වන්න. සිරස ශක්ති සහන යාත්‍රා ශනික ඇමතුම් අංකය 076 55 25 03.
Welcome back to Face to Face. I'm in conversation with Mr. Kesarralal Gunasekara, former Member of Parliament, and we are discussing the devastating effects of Cyclone Ditwa. Just in case some of our viewers are unaware of how cyclones are actually named, in the North Indian Ocean, there are 13 countries which border the sea, ranging from Yemen in the west and I think all the way to Indonesia in the east. And these 13 countries take it in turn and they have each submitted a number of names. So these names are then there is a rotation, and the rest, I think perhaps the next 10 or 20 cyclones have already been named. Sri Lanka has had its turn several times at naming cyclones, none of which actually hit Sri Lanka, but went in other directions. And this particular cyclone Ditwa was named by Yemen, and they named it after a lagoon on an island, the island of Socotra, and it's a very peaceful sort of name because the lagoon is actually a conservationist area, a Ramsar wetland, but unfortunately the effects of Cyclone Ditwa were devastating. Now, Kesarralal, let's get to this issue of prevention, of preparation for natural disasters. And in Sri Lanka, we don't have a lot of different types of natural disasters. We had that one tsunami, and there are other countries like Japan which are faced with tsunamis
on a regular basis.
On a regular basis. We have only very minor earth tremors, whereas again, if you're living in many countries in Asia or South America, you have massive earthquakes all the time. And not to mention volcanoes, we don't have those either. So we just have to deal with the rainfall and the wind. So we're completely narrowed down when it comes to these freakish issues of nature. So how do we set about it? What are the lessons we can learn from Cyclone Ditwa?
I think the most important lesson is that when you don't heed the call, you are in trouble. You have to heed the call. That's very important. And once you heed the call, you stay in a place where you're protected. If you can do that, then so many things can be averted. But you have not done that. Then, as to whether the Disaster Management Center also had preparation now, plans in operation in case of flooding. Because I do not know as to whether they sprung into action. But so far I have not heard, because there's so many agencies collecting food passes, everything, which is an indication that there was no readiness or any of that nature as far as the disaster management center is concerned, because they are supposed to be. In other countries, you have even houses are provided with notices where you have to be armed, prepared to move out with a pack. You have a pack which contains so many essential items, and that has to be always prepared and kept in case of a emergency situation. So as to whether we have that, I don't think so. So these are issues that have to be discussed. But mostly I feel movement of people from the dangerous zones is crucial and cardinal. And I think the forces have to be deployed hereafter to ensure that they are taken out and their houses protected to some degree.
Now, those are several vital steps that you have just mentioned, Kesarralal, and let's go through one by one. The idea that one should have a bag, a pack, a suitcase, something always packed, especially if you are a person on medication. If you're elderly, you need your medicine. If you're diabetic, you need your medicine, high blood pressure and so on. So you need to have all that prepared. You need a couple of changes of clothes and so on. And if you go on the internet and Google
everything is available.
Emergency pack,
everything is available.
Everything is there. It'll tell you exactly what you need to have, down to torches and things like that.
Correct.
And if you have children, what you need to have, elderly people, what you need to have, and so on. So it's common sense to have something like this just in case you have to run out the door.
Correct.
But then our people don't run out the door.
That's another issue.
So that brings me to another point that you made about the fact that our people hardly ever move. Now, in some cultures, Kesarralal, if you ring the church bells or whatever religious institution it is, people know that
there is a problem.
There's something wrong, and they will gather in a particular place in the village, which is predetermined. But do we have predetermined areas like that? And
yes. The disaster management center has done that.
But is it publicized enough?
I am aware that those things are doing that. My question is this. Now, I see the amount of effort that is being taken by most of even the news agencies in collecting food, etc. I can't understand why they require so much cooked food. Because the DMC, the cardinal rule is they must ensure they must have a plan where meals can be cooked. We say the floods took place today. From tonight itself, they should be prepared. Now, what went wrong there? That's the question. What went wrong? Something has gone wrong.
So that's another issue, Kesarralal, because we know exactly how many people are living in every locality. My goodness, our Grama Nilari knows, our divisional secretary knows, our Pradeshi Sabha knows, our midwife knows, everybody knows. They have mapped out your village, your town, your city, your neighborhood. So they know, and they also know who's not in the village anymore. Somebody is gone to Colombo or Kandy to work, they know that person won't be there, and so on. If somebody has gone to work in the Middle East, they know that. All that data is there. So the officials absolutely know how many people are in that neighborhood, and once that neighborhood is evacuated, so they know how many men, how many women, how many toddlers, how many infants, all of that data. So it's very easy to plan this, isn't it? That if you have the people shifting to a particular location, which is the relief center, you know exactly what is needed in terms of food, and medicines and so on, blankets and paddlers and whatever. So it's very easy to plan this.
Yeah. The question is, as I said, now their plan, I have seen this, their plan consists of so many programs, etc. And as to where food is being prepared, all those things are done now. And how you get the stuff in order to attend to the cooking, and who's going to do the cooking, all those things are planned now. My question is, what went wrong? Because the amount of food parcels that are being collected is a clear indication that has not taken place. I do not know whether it is taking place, but there is collection. Because normally people say, can we give prepared cooked food? So it is collected. If it is collected, it's going to somebody, that means those people are not being fed. See, very sad. So those things have to be looked into and ensure that these are the areas that have to be tackled in case of an emergency. That is very essential. I know for a fact that it was planned and done earlier, but as to whether that moved into operation because the entire country got affected, so many issues have come up, I don't know. Still, for all, those are things that have to be looked into. But now, get together and start rebuilding, because I feel the government has to understand you have a national plan and you have a sectoral plan as far as the districts are concerned. Incorporate the local authorities, it is very crucial. Get the provincial councils also, because you have engineering staff, etc. in the provincial councils as well. Pull them together, prepare the assessment, or you assess the entire damage in various sectors, pull it together, you have the national plan. How do you set about it? You get private organizations to come in and step in and help the government. That has to be requested. The government cannot do everything. The private sector also has to bear the brunt. That is very essential. So those are things that have to be done within the next 2-3 days to ensure that we come out of this and get everybody together, not to fight. Squabbling has to stop, and all party politics must be put aside. As to whether, I don't know, they are prepared to do it, for heaven's sake, put it aside. That is what is expected.
Well, unfortunately, there has been a lot of finger pointing going on social media, and I'm sure that will increase in the coming days. But let's keep that aside and look at what we need to do to ensure that this doesn't happen again. Of course, you spoke about the role of the private sector. Some organizations such as the Maharaja Media Network, of course, we are very much used to handling emergencies, and the Sirasa Shakti Sahanayatra is in full swing. We don't need anyone to tell us to start it off. Within about 24 hours of a disaster, that happens anyway, and all of our hundreds of employees jump in and work day and night, and we get a lot of support, I must say, from other corporates and from schools. They collect items and they bring it all to our collection centers, and it's all sorted and put into packs to make sure that each pack contains all the essentials, and then it is they are all loaded onto trucks and sent in different directions depending on the requirements of the nation, of course. And this time we have the assistance of the army, the STF, and the other forces and police who have also lent their manpower to help us load and unload and so on. So that's all wonderful. I must say Sri Lankans are very good at dealing with disasters after a disaster has happened. We love to jump in and try to do
they get motivated, no?
We get motivated, but we need to see this motivation before to prevent all this. What more can we learn from this, Kesarralal?
Well, the question is the readiness. That's crucial, I feel. Readiness would mean saving lives. If you were prepared, you could have saved lives. And we could have averted those rescuers also losing their lives. All those things could have been averted. but very, very unfortunate, because once people are in danger, you've got to understand no government is going to sit back. They're going to send in their rescuers, and those rescuers are also in risk. Their lives are in danger. So those things have to be taken into account, and hereafter we'll have to have a dialogue with regard to all these matters, starting from the local authorities, provincial council. Everybody needs to get involved in this whole exercise. When there is a red alert, for heaven's sake, take action immediately. Take cognizance of that, and then do what is being told. That's very important. If you don't do that, you are in trouble. And for heaven's sake, when a situation of this nature, if you are not involved in rescue efforts, for heaven's sake, stay at home. Don't put your vehicle onto the road. Yesterday, one of my friends was going to Kandy because his house had suffered, and he was going to Kandy. Left at 8 o'clock. 9 o'clock in the night he went to Kandy. Left at 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock he went to Kandy. You can just imagine the traffic on the road. Why? Many people would be wanting to go and see the damage. We all rubbish. Huh? This is Sri Lankan mentality. Wanting to go and see what has happened. I mean, that's quite okay, but wait for about 3-4 weeks and then go.
Absolutely, and we see far too often young men and women taking selfies and taking videos. In fact, that unfortunate helicopter which crashed, you can see the pilot trying to land, and there are people on the bridge. On the bridge.
So therefore he couldn't land.
Exactly, and they are taking videos of the helicopter. Have they not seen a helicopter before? Surely, and a life was lost because of that. So I think our people need to be given a thorough education on these matters. But also, Kesarralal, is it that now, unlike India and Bangladesh, which get several cyclones in a year, we hardly ever get one. In fact, I was looking at an article which had some statistics which said in 130 years, Sri Lanka has had 16 cyclones, and of them only 5 have been severe.
That could be one reason.
That could be one reason. So when we do get a severe cyclone like this one, we are taken by surprise, perhaps.
Correct. I mean, it's a warning. It's a warning that this is the magnitude of the cyclone. So at least now, from now onwards, be prepared. Whenever something comes up, you better take action. Evasive action is very essential. Stay away from those places, from those areas. Don't put your vehicles onto the road. For heaven's sake, stay away from the road also. Because you don't know what time floods are going to take place. You don't know.
Kesarralal, what about disinformation and misinformation? And there are people who obviously have a screw loose, who relish in doing this. They will spread horror stories on social media which have no basis whatsoever. There was a story last night that the Kotmale Dam had basically been destroyed, and another story that the Victoria Dam was at risk. Neither of those are anywhere close to being at risk, and they are heavily monitored by the authorities. So there's no issues with them at all. And we ourselves at Newsfirst, we keep checking with those authorities to make sure that there are no major issues. And those are relatively modern structures, and they're going to withhold. The same cannot be said of bridges, of course, which bridges are not built to hold back water. Hence, we have seen several bridges collapsing. But what about this misinformation and disinformation? How do you deal with this nonsense?
You have to, of course, the question is this: people must understand that they are responsible for whatever they post. If you are not responsible for your post, whatever your post
and what you repeat,
which is very bad. So the situation, you can bring in laws, but I still feel that laws are not going to prevent. You have to understand, people must be educated that you should not do things which are wrong, you know. Those are mischievous things, and that could prove crossly, you know, could be dangerous. So therefore, you to stay away from those things. That is essential. Laws cannot change people. You can't. It's not that easy. Very sad.
And finally, Kesarralal, what about this opportunity to rebuild? Because it seems to me that Sri Lanka, from time to time, we get these opportunities to reset, to relaunch, to rebuild. This happened with the tsunami, for example. Unfortunately, the opportunity was not grabbed. Then, at the end of the war, again, we
had the opportunity.
Expected a boom for the country, and guess what? Nothing happened. And then we have had other instances like this, and we are in the midst of one. Rebuilding after the economic debacle. But now, do you feel that this particular cyclone will give us yet another opportunity?
Of course it does. And I feel that everybody, including the government and people, everybody has to understand that you have to convert this into a positive this thing. That's very important.
So when you say everybody?
Everybody needs to understand that. All people, whether you're government, private, everybody has to understand. Convert this into a blessing in disguise. Blessing in disguise. This is disaster, but can we convert that into a blessing in disguise? No government can do it alone. Huh? No government can do it alone. But people, yes. The public, yes.
And the local authorities and departments.
Yes, yes. It can convert it into a blessing in disguise.
And on that note, I'm afraid we are out of time. My thanks indeed to Mr. Kesarralal Gunasekara, former Member of Parliament, for joining me this evening and sharing his thoughts. And thank you to you at home for watching. I hope you are safe wherever you are, and please take the advice of Mr. Gunasekara in the coming days to make sure that you and your loved ones stay safe during these tough times. Thank you for watching. Don't go away because the news is coming up next. Have a great evening.